Hi. So you are doing a great job because this is not an hour that I want to be up at all. I am never up at this hour. I don't like being up at this hour, and I don't function very well. And that's okay, but I'm going to do my best. I will welcome everyone to, if you want, there are these things over there, there's some drawings on the wall. You're welcome to walk along. I don't care if you want to walk there, but you're welcome to move, get up, move around, do what you want to do. But a thing I liked to do when I was playing drums a lot more was start off just straight up playing a solo, whatever it was. It doesn't have to be known as good or bad, whatever. Just play to let out whatever has to come out. And that's how I would start practicing usually, instead of practicing technique or whatever, you know. That's how I would start the day, just by creating something without judgment of it. It's just whatever, I allow it to be, and then I move on. So we're going to talk about ritual, right? It's an interesting word, I think, because I think in society, the idea of it has changed so many times, where it's so connected with the idea of how society has shifted from being like, you know, I'm personally living a very weird nomadic life right now because I've been moving around and I blah, blah, blah. And in this stage right now, since I've been back, I've been traveling a lot. I got back and now I'm seeing, okay, what is it to have a normal idea of home? And that's, you know, the sentimental idea is obviously the self is the home, whatever, right? And that's great. But also in this idea of ritual, we have being a nomad, we have then agrarian society, and then we have what we have now, which is this weird industrial capitalist thing, right? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I go to yoga class or whatever. But is that really ritual? I don't know. It could be, but what's your purpose of it? Is it just to go out and have some kind of community? But as you know, only the top 2 classes in India for many years were able to practice yoga. And in this, you know, if you go to yoga class, you're still very privileged, right? To go to yoga class, whatever. So I think about that. So what I think about ritual is it dealing with consistency? Does it deal with timing? Does it deal with practice? Does it deal with, like, what does it deal with? I don't know. And also, you should turn your attention to the board just for a second. Look at that quote. That's not my quote. Just look at the quote. The one who says does not know, the one who knows does not say. So keep that in mind also, because I know this is a time of capitalist gurus, Instagram stars, and a bunch of bullshit and everyone knows something because you have to project yourself like you know something or no one will listen to you. And I think that's a bunch of hooey, you know. But that's what I think. And do I know? I don't know. Right? But I think that we should all keep that in mind with everything that we do. Now, to go back to that, for me, and this is only for me, but I implore people, but I don't command it. But the only thing that I've seen that is the most real, practical, and mystical thing that everyone could do, that is within everyone right now, every single day, is when you wake up, you write down your dreams. I wish I had a cigar. Does anyone have a cigar? I don't have that, and I don't have a proper coat for this. But I write down your dreams every single day. That solely has been the biggest thing that has affected, changed my life, and altered the way I understand perception and just go about every single day. Because why is that world any different than this? I don't know. It's the same, in my opinion. So I do that every single morning if I have dreams. I have been doing it for over 10 years, I think. I have them just on my Apple thing, and sometimes I write them down, sometimes I write about them, sometimes I draw about them. But that's a timely ritual that I specifically do. I think that dreams are a beautiful thing because we all have them. And not only the idea of wishes, but the night dreams, literally the night dreams that we all have, because everyone has access to them. And it's the one thing that I've found that allows us to feel feelings that you can't feel in everyday life, or that extend upon everyday life. And you're going through things and you're understanding more, or some crazy stuff happens and you're like, why is this happening to me in this dream? Why am I being freaked? Whatever it is, I think it's great to pay attention to because it's a language in itself and you have the language, but you have to also understand it. You have to work on it. You can't just say, oh, that was weird, and then let it pass by every day. Anyway, so that's the thing I like to do as well for ritual. My creative process is very mysterious, and I won't give it to you because why give it to people? It's mine. But what I like to say is that the dreams have really made me understand this idea of really allowing my intuition to be the centerpiece of everything, and not only having it in like a hippy-dippy way, but have it as a way that you could actually understand more and you could actually research it within yourself, because that's possibility and that's reality. If you start to understand a language, then you could work at it, and then becomes creative, because then you could work at it, you could communicate with yourself, your internal self, your external self, and that's the thing I like to do. So that's one thing. Anyone have any questions so far? Good. So next, because I like to go about, these pieces are largely created with layers. I think of these as life and those as dreams. I like to think of all the drawings, I call them dream shields in a way, because they are exactly what they are. I can't change them, and in a dream you can't really change anything, because whatever decision you have is the decision you make every single time. You don't have to think about it, you can't ponder, you can't ruminate, you can't stress out, you just are there. And that's what it is, every single time. So I like that because the ink just allows it to, the line goes, and that's what it has to be. In this, I could change it every day, and I like that I could change it every day because it's wet, and it's oil, and it keeps changing and it evolves with time, and I really appreciate that with these two paintings. So that process is about taking away, putting on, taking away, putting on. It's more akin to life, and I like to do something like that every day or in some way, because this deals with my own life. You know, this is how I actually go out in the world. Instead of walking down the street saying, oh, I have to go at that meeting at 10 o'clock or whatever, I go out and say, oh, I have to go there, but I also feel like I should go down this street. And often, what happens? I see someone that I haven't seen in a long time. I went yesterday, I saw this guy Ayush at the coffee shop right before, because I got there like a little early and he was there, and then he had to leave. This guy, see all around Seattle. I've met him. This is the only person this has happened to, only person. But there are a lot of things like that I think that we all have to understand. So, ritual, back to ritual. Do I do things every day? No. Things as in ritual, not things as in things. I do things every day, but not ritual things every day, because I think it should be more intuitive. It should be flowing. I often think of cave people just sitting, then they eat, then they go to the bathroom, and they're like, oh, I need food. They're like, let's find some food. And they go out and find food, and they're like, oh, I'm sleepy. And they sleep. And they're, oh, it's cold. We gotta make a fire. And then it's dark. And then they talk, and then they have sex, go to bed. Right? And that's great. That's fantastic. That's a good life, right? In some ways. But I think of that because it's flowing. And I think anything that we do to allow for more flow, which I think ritual is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to enhance your flow in life. It's supposed to enhance perspective. That's why people meditate. That's why people have coffee. Coffee is great. I'm having coffee. Cheers to coffee. And it gets your whole perspective of the day going in the way that you want. And it's not allowing for control. It's supposed to release control so you're able to just do. And I think that's what I think that ritual is supposed to do. Let's stop for a second, right? This is a lecture, but let's stop. If anyone has any questions, let's do it now. I would rather do that and then continue. Does anyone have questions? Yes?
Is ritual, just listen to what you just said, is ritual an enabler? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yes. So there's a lot of ideas in functionalism and in Marxism also that actually talks about ritual itself being this thing that just keeps social order. You know, is ritual actually a thing that is inherent to human beings? I think in some ways, but also in the ways that we've created it. Is it actually just making us do these things in order and then just keeping everyone cool, fine, and in line? I think it is in some ways. It allows for us to externalize our anxiety and say that we need to do this in order to feel fine. But we should just feel fine, right? We shouldn't have to do yoga or meditate or whatever, or drink coffee or do anything except for just be to feel okay every day. We shouldn't, because we should just be fine. But obviously there's a lot of things going in our bodies, chemicals, things in our brain, things in our bodies that just don't allow that. So I do think that in some ways it is an enabler to allow for us to keep hanging on to our anxieties rather than to let go. So that's why I think it's a thing to actually think about. Because I'm here to talk about ritual, not to define it. And not to say what you should do in ritual or what you shouldn't do. But I think what I like is that with dreams, again, it allows me to question every day. It's a ritual that allows me to question. It's a ritual that allows me to not really hang on to them because I have so many. So I could think about them, and then they go past, and they go past, and then I could look back. I say, oh, wow, 2 years ago I had a dream that was similar, and then that changed a little bit. But it's supposed to allow for freedom rather than to cage you in. And I think that that's what a lot of things nowadays do, actually. The idea of having to be consistent, having to do something. You don't have to do anything, right? But we feel like we have to. So that's what I feel.
So I was curious about what is the difference between your music composition and painting a tangible art piece?
I think that I create them in the same way. One is more visceral. Obviously, music is more visceral, and it's the most immediate thing that you could feel emotionally in a communicative way. Whereas painting, you're a little bit more detached from it, or a lot more detached, and it depends on how you want to look at it. And that's why in these pieces I like to look at them from parts and the whole. And I look at the parts and the whole, the parts and the whole, over and over and over again. And with composition, I also think of that same idea, especially with like chamber music I do. I've written a lot of different music. You have no clue. But you'll hear about it if you follow my Instagram. But I have a lot of different kinds of music that I like to create. Things that are chamber music that deal with, like, with violins and cellos and piano, things of that nature, and then things that are more dancey that I'm also working on. And I work at them in the same way because I like to hear parts of a composition, like a melody, whatever, like that melody. I like that to be able to change in a piece. And similarly, when you look at one part, you could see this, but then if you look at that in conjunction with something else, then you see something else. I like to think of it as, looking into stars or looking into clouds, where you keep finding things and you imagine. And that's why, I don't like to say what something means, because why does anything mean anything? Who cares? That's what I feel like. Who cares? Everyone wants everything to mean something, but we attach too much. It's too much. It's too much for me. Seriously, it really is. Especially these years of everything having to mean something, us having to define something. Why does anything have to mean anything? It doesn't. But we like to say that something has to mean something. But that's just like us being humans. But this, I like it to just be natural. Just like looking at it. And that's what I like music to be too. It's an experience. And I create it by I like little objects. You'll see in these drawings there are things that obviously reoccur. I like these latches in a way. I like hands. I like faces. I like beings. And I like balance in a different way, and you'll see how those translate to this. And it's very different, but that's why I implore you to walk around, because you could just hear me, but I'm more of an experiential person than a speaker. So, yeah.
You talk about flow. What happens when things aren't flowing and you get stuck?
Me?
How do you get unstuck, or do you just accept it? What's that look like for you?
Acceptance is good. But also there's always something I think in our intuition that says there's this that we should do. And sometimes you don't want to do it, and sometimes you don't know what that really means, but you got to do it. And it's not a thing that someone else is pressuring you. It's often a thing that is not likable by other people. It's a thing that you just want to do for some reason. Like, I just want to learn this language. Then learn the language. If you really feel like you should learn the language or do something, you should do that, because sometimes that'll allow other things to happen because you're spending time. That's your whole being, So, yeah, you have to you can't just force I don't believe, that quote again, I don't believe that one should force their way through life. I think that creates a lot of diseases. I think that creates a lot of anger, a lot of people that are unhappy. And I've grown up a lot around a lot of older people. A lot of my mentors were, already in their 80s and 90s. I played with people who've died, or, from old age. So it's just, I've seen people talk about that specifically. So I really try to be relaxed.
Do you sing or anything, or do you mostly enjoy the instrumental part of singing?
So I am singing more now. I think it's a necessary thing for me. I love singing.
What do you love to sing?
What do I love to sing? Bossa Nova music. And my own music. I think it's funny. But yeah, bossa nova music, I've been working on that. I also write, and so understanding how my poetry and things work into that. So that's the answer.
So would you sing for us?
Oh. Oh God.
My intuition.
What?
Twice for my intuition.
That's you? That's you?
To you to sing, yes.
All right. That's nice. Okay. You want me to sit behind drums or just stand? No, but you're telling me what to do. I could also say no, but I'm not going to do that because that's not vulnerable enough, is it? Right? Yeah. Let's see. Morena flor, mi Deus cheinho, cheio do amor, esse é me gosta quem me dê todo se te, me dê só você te. Morena flor, me Deus cheinho, cheio de amor, esse é me gosta quem me dê todo se te, me dê só você te. Quem você se de mim eu ia fico tão triste. Tudo ia ficar foi. I don't know those words. Acontece que Bahia fez você. Eu disse morena, morena, flor, me dê o cheirinho. Amor, cheinho de amor, que de amor, de amor. There you go. Is that 2 to 5 minutes, Lee? All right, bye. Thanks for coming. I hope you had a time, not a good time, whatever time you want. I would say write down your dreams if you want to. You don't have to do anything, I say. And I didn't tell you to do anything, right? Because I said after, if you want, you don't have to do anything. So it's recorded. You have a good time? Okay time? This is okay.
Good time.
Good, it was good. Good? Good time? Yeah? Good time. Okay.
Let's give it up.